Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage and welcome to a brand new series of Europa Universalis IV. I've been playing this game a little bit over the last couple of months because I have the Art of War expansion and it does change a few things and adds a few new mechanics. Even if you don't have the Art of War expansion, a lot of the new mechanics have actually been added in the most recent patch. But I certainly find that it makes a fair bit of difference and I've actually enjoyed playing it a lot more with this particular expansion. So I'm actually running the game with all of the expansions up to date, which is obviously Art of War. There is the Res Publica expansion as well, which is mainly for trade republics. There is the Wealth of Nations expansion and the Conquest of Paradise expansion as well. So I've got everything installed pretty much. So what I thought I'd do, I'm going to start a game again from the beginning, from the earliest date you can, which is the 11th of November 1444. I never really start any later than that, and there's rarely a reason why you would, unless, for example, you may want to play a specific country. So if you wanted, let's just go into the political map mode, shortcut W, just makes it a little bit easier to see the different countries. If you wanted to start playing as Spain, for example, well, in 1444 Spain doesn't exist, it's Castile and Aragon, so maybe you want to move the time on a little bit to a point in history where Spain has already been formed. But most of the time I prefer to play from the beginning because, well, you know, it gives you more time to play through. So just going to have a quick look in the options here. What you can see is we have bonuses set to none, the AI difficulty is set to normal, so I'm not really playing on a harder, it's standard difficulty basically. So I've been trying to think who I want to play with. I've had a go as playing with England recently for a video, as well as Castile. So I thought, given the fact that we're having a bit of a theme at the moment, my most recent game on Civilization V was Portugal. Then we've gone on to Civilization Beyond Earth and we're playing as Franco-Iberia. So let's move all the way up and actually just go ahead and play as France. Now, France is quite an interesting nation to play as in the sort of very early days of EU4, because as you can see, France doesn't look much like France does today, and that's because it's split down into all of these separate regions. You've got parts of France that are owned by England, you've also got bits of France that are owned by Burgundy, and you've also got Brittany there, which is a separate entity. If we go into our diplomatic map mode, no, not diplomatic map mode, I'll get it right in a moment. No, it is diplomatic map mode, I just didn't have France selected. There we go. So if I select France and I've got diplomatic map mode, what you can see here is that some of these additional provinces are do have French claims on them, but they're also French vassals as well. So we will eventually be able to get all of these provinces as part of France. And that's very important to do because it helps to build France up. Now, obviously, Brittany isn't part of France at this point, but you can get that later. The sort of English territory here has French cores on it, so we can go ahead and get that. Picardy isn't. That's currently part of Burgundy. But we will get that eventually as well. Now, as you can see, the red indicates that we are currently at war, and that is one of the things with France. You start in the 100 Years' War with England, just the same as you would if you were starting as England. You'd be in the 100 Years' War with France. France is a very, very good nation to play as for the beginners, and it offers you a lot of options. France are a massive military powerhouse. They're very, very good to play as if you like a lot of battles and wars. They do have some coast, so you have the possibility of building a navy for trade and also naval warfare. They're also on the sort of far west of Europe, which means they're in the Western Tech Group, which is one of the easiest tech groups to play. It also means that they have access to the New World, so you can go over and do a bit of colonization with the French if you want. The biggest issues you're ever going to have as France is you're going to be fighting against the English a lot, possibly the Castilians, and the Burgundians quite a lot. And if you're not too careful, you can end up doing what I did in my previous game as France, and that's eat into the Holy Roman Empire a little bit too aggressively. And that usually ends up in a lot of pressure coming in from Austria, the HRE, the Papal State, Hungary. It can also be the Commonwealth if that gets formed. So you do have to be very careful. So I'm going to try not to be too aggressive against the HRE. So as you can see on the panel over here, we are actually at war with England. We have Armagnac, we have Auvergne, I can never pronounce these names, Bourbonnais, Foix, and Orleans are all sort of our vassals here as well. So we're going to go ahead and start this game as France. Okay, so we are in. First thing I'm going to do is hit W just to bring up the political map mode, because it just makes it a little bit easier to see what you own. Now, one of the first things you want to do when you start a game as France is just have a little quick look at Castile. Give them a right click somewhere and have a look and see who their rivals are, because it's 50-50 whether or not they will rival France or not. And this also applies if you're playing a game as England, because what you want to do as a player, ideally, is whether you're playing as France or England, you'd like to have Castile on your side. The main reason for that is, particularly as France, you start off in this war with the English, and you will eventually get attacked by Burgundy, and you really don't want to be fighting a war on two fronts. If you can form an alliance with Castile, it's going to make it much less likely that the Burgundians will go ahead and attack you. Much the same way as if you're actually playing as England. If you're playing as England, you want to be allied with the Castilians, because if you are, that means that the French won't have them, and then the French are more likely to get in a war with Burgundy, and then as England, it's easy to go in and win the 100 Years' War. So, right-clicking on Castile, we can see that they've got England rivaled, they've got Aragon rivaled, and they also have Morocco rivaled. Now, a good thing as well is that Spain and Aragon pretty much are always rivaled. And this can be excellent, because if you can actually get into a alliance with Castile, and bear in mind, even if you can't bring them into the 100 Years' War, because the 100 Years' War is already sort of running. But if you can get into an alliance with Castile, they will very often bring you into their wars with Aragon. And this is fantastic, because that means, as France, you can go in and grab yourself some of these Aragonese provinces, which are all mountains, and then if you do ever decide to backstab Castile later on and go after them, it means you already have some really, really good defensive territory along what would be the Spanish-French border. It also means by gobbling up bits of Aragon, you can actually stop Castile from forming Spain, so it is quite nice to be able to do that as France. So that is one thing. I'm going to click on our own territory here. You can see we've already got England set as a rival. There are two more rivals that we could have. We can't actually set those at the minute because we're at war, and you can't set rivals while you're at war. We're currently won over our relations, because as you can see, we actually have quite a lot of vassals. We have the 5 vassals that I mentioned at the startup screen, but we're also guaranteeing the independence of Scotland, which basically gives us some more CBs against England a little bit later on in the game. So we are starting at war. Now, one of the best things about France is that they are very, very good militaristically, so we will be dealing with the English troops shortly. Before we do that, there are a few things that we will need to do. We're going to need to get ourselves some military advisors. We also want to make sure that we are embargoing England as well, because we are rival to them. England are also an enemy of, well, Burgundy is rivaling England, which is quite nice. Let's just have a quick look at the economy actions. We're not embargoing them yet, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And at the same time, we're also going to go down to Castile, and we're going to go into our relation actions, and we're going to improve relations. In fact, our relations may actually be high enough. No, they're not, but we can go into dynastic actions and offer them a royal marriage. That will give us an instant boost. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Just before I unpause, a couple more things that we need to do. We don't have any advisors at the moment. You can run with no advisors. It's perfectly capable to do that. We've got a relatively decent king, 4 admin points, 2 diplo, and 4 military. Currently 41 years old, and the heir is a 432, so not terrible either. But as you can see, military power are actually quite low. We're currently diplomatically focused, which is fine because we are over our diplomatic relations. So we're going to go ahead and get ourselves a military advisor. A rank 1 advisor would be fine. So we can either go for reinforced speed or national manpower. Well, we are fighting in a war. Either of these would be useful. I think we're going to go for the difficult choice, that one, actually. They both cost pretty much the same. Now, we don't have a massive amount of manpower. I don't think we're going to need to be able to reinforce that quick, because the main problem that England have is that they can only really attack you by sort of dropping troops off from the sea. So we're going to go for the manpower modifier, which will just give us more people to play with. We're also going to go in and get the level 1 diplo guy, and we can also go in and get a level 1 admin guy as well, which reduces the national unrest, which is always nice. So the first thing we need to do is we've got our army, which is one main big army here. We're already losing this war slightly. As you can see, it's England on one side, and then it's France and all of her vassals on the other side. There's also a couple of other people that are involved in it as well that aren't our vassals. So that is a nice thing to do. Now, one thing you can actually do is you can give your vassals now actual orders. So if I want to, for example, this is what you can do with the Art of War DLC. So if I want to click on Gascoigne here, I can left click on it, makes it easier. If I left click on it, and then there's a button down here that says no objective, I can click on that and tell one of my vassals to prioritize it. So I can say to Lorraine, for example, I want you to go ahead and try and attack that particular province or capture that particular province. What I can also do as well is if I go into my subjects list, is I can then tell them this here, military focus for subjects, this button down in the bottom right hand corner. I can either tell all of my subjects to either be aggressive, not to focus on anything, or supportive, in which case they'll try and stick close to me and attach. Or I can give individual vassals the individual focuses. So I can tell Orleans to be aggressive, I can tell Foix to attach, and things like that. So that is one of the nice things that you can do. We do start with a very, very small navy here. We've got a couple of heavies, got a couple of transports, and we have a couple of lights. They're going to be next to useless for us in this war compared to England, who have a massive navy. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and crush this army here. We've got a massive stack in Ile-de-France, and we need to assign a leader. Now, this is where France gets really good, because France have some amazing leaders. Look at that. They actually start with 4 generals, and look at what these have. This guy has a massive amount of siege, and he's a 4-4 general. This guy's a 3-3 with 4 maneuver. I mean, these guys are all really, really good. I think having the 3-3 with 4 maneuver would be excellent right now. It gives us a lot of extra speed. Of course, we can split our army up, and we will do that very shortly. We want these guys to go ahead there. We should be able to get there before the AI has a chance to remove his troops from that province. So we're going to go ahead and unpause the game. Castile has accepted the royal marriage, which is fantastic. Can't do anything until the diplomat gets back, so let's carry on moving into that province there. The only problem we have is quite difficult to get a hold of Calais, because it would mean we'd have to walk through Burgundy, and that's pretty much going to be impossible. Although it is worth trying to see if you some of your vassals may be able to get open borders with Burgundy. As you can see, they're trying to get their troops off onto these transports over here. But we should be able to intercept them in plenty of time, and we have done. They're going to get completely and utterly face-rolled there. And we've also been reinforced by our one of our vassals as well. So that's going to help matters nicely. They have got some down there, although they're going to get wiped out as well, so that's not a problem. There we go. We've already got... an alliance offer from Castile. Good. That's what I wanted. I was going to arrange it myself, but they've done it for me. Let's have a quick look at our missions, what we can do here. We can already pass the advancement of the Religion Act. Makes it a legal offence for servants and the like to read our Holy Bible. Now, what does this actually give us? It gives us additional missionary strength, but it does give us a little bit more national unrest. We are going to go ahead and take that, because France usually gets an event. France starts off as Catholic, and they usually get an event where they get a centre of Reformation in Paris, in Ile-de-France, which causes the surrounding provinces to eventually become reformed. And that can be problematic later if you do want to sort of try and diplo-vassalize any of the Holy Roman Empire, because you get a negative penalty with them, because they basically stay as Catholic or Protestant, and you do end up getting a negative penalty for being a heretic religion. So I do want to try and stay Catholic as long as possible, and that means we can play around in the papacy a little bit more, because that has changed from what it used to be, so we will be having a go at that. We also don't have a mission. We can improve our prestige, we can improve relations with Savoy, or we can drive England from France. We're definitely going to be doing that, and it'll give us 10 army traditions, so we will be working on that. The only problem we're going to have is trying to get Calais. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to get military access from Burgundy, although we may. They have rivaled us. Yeah, they would not give us military access. Not sure if any of our Provence may be able to get through there. I'm going to go ahead and click on Calais and tell Provence to go and try and siege it. Maybe they can get across there. The only way that I can do it is literally with a ship, and as England have got a navy sailing around there, that is going to be very, very difficult. Also, you will find throughout this game that I continually get my flag confused with that of Munster, and also Sweden as well, because they're both blue with 3 little icons on them, but obviously the French flag is the fleur-de-lis, so I should be able to sort that out. Looks like England's going to get a pasting down there. I mean, they are in grasslands. I think this province here in Armagnac used to actually be mountainous, but now it's not. Although Provence is reinforcing, so they should be fine. So we're going to go ahead there and just unpause that. What I will do here is I'm going to select this army, hit D to detach a siege, and then move the remaining stack into Cow, or however it's pronounced, and they will try and unsiege that. Still got this English army down here. We may be able to catch it if we are lucky. We do have to be very careful and see if England are going to try and drop some additional troops on us, because that could be quite problematic if we do. Again, we're going to detach a siege, and we're going to start moving down. See if we can't go and... in fact, I think that English army is actually being stack wiped. So, to that end, I'm actually going to leave my army probably here, and then if the English do try and land any additional troops, because they will do that. What England usually try and do, though, is sail around the coast of Castile, and they sometimes try and come and drop troops here in the Gulf of Leon. So be prepared to quickly move your army all the way down to the southeast and prevent a naval landing over on this side. Meanwhile, all of our vassals should be doing absolutely fine at sort of stopping the English from taking a foothold. Like I said, the only difficult thing is Calais, because we just don't have open borders with Burgundy. Now, what we could potentially do is go ahead and get some units on a ship. We could move a transport over there, but the problem is the transport's most likely going to get sunk by the English Navy, and even if we do, we've only got 2 transports. We can only land 2 troops at a time, and what will most likely happen is the English will just land a couple of troops on there, and we will basically get killed. As you can see, they are starting to move their fleet down here. In fact, no, they're just blockading. I thought they were going to come down and try and do something there, but they're not. Also, my ships are here in Poitou, which is in the Côte d'Argent, which means that I can't actually get out of here now with my transports anyway. So unless I can actually get sort of open borders, yeah, they wouldn't give it to me, just simply because we're rivaled with negative 40 points. I don't think there's any way we can actually get around that. But like I said, just because we don't have the ability to get open borders with them doesn't mean that one of our vassals doesn't. So it is worth sort of saying to our vassals, well, why don't you go and try and get that, because they may be able to get in there. What about Armagnac? You're not doing anything particularly useful right now, so why don't we say go ahead and siege that? And also, if I go into my subjects and I tell Armagnac to be aggressive, where are they? So you go ahead and be aggressive, and hopefully they'll just go off and do something useful. It's unlikely, but we shall see. So we do have this alliance with Castile. What I should really do here is still go ahead and improve relations. We want to keep them on side as long as possible. Other possibilities for getting allies is Switzerland. Switzerland is very useful because their territory is very, very mountainous, and that is really, really good if you end up in wars with Burgundy and also Austria as well. You will often find, though, that Switzerland do call you into wars with Savoy, which isn't a terrible idea because you would like to get Savoy into France. So what my plans are for this Let's Play, I think we're actually two relations over now. View our country. Yeah, we're over by 2 now because we've got this alliance with Castile. What my plan is to try and do, obviously, completely form France, get rid of Burgundy. We'll do as much damage to England as we can. At the same time, we're also going to try and do a little bit of colonisation, if that ever happens. Just keeping my eye on what's happening. Want to make sure that there are no English troops about to land and cause me any problems. It really would be fantastic if we could go over here and get Calais, but it's just going to be so difficult. Unless, of course, we're willing to declare war on Burgundy, which we could do. We could declare war on Burgundy to march through and try and drop troops in Calais. The problem with that is it means we're going to be fighting a war on 2 fronts. I don't mind doing that too much because the good thing is once we've actually sort of got rid of all the England troops on the mainland and sieged out all of their provinces. It does make that a little bit easier. If we were to go ahead and declare war on Burgundy, we wouldn't be able to call Castile in, unfortunately, because they'd be called into multiple wars, which they don't want to do, and we'd also be fighting against Hungary and Ashen, so we really don't want to declare war on Burgundy. They may well declare war against us. It's quite possible that that is going to happen. Not sure we'll be able to take Calais unless we can siege it out, but certainly at the moment we are not having to worry too much about the English troops, so that's not too much of a concern there. We've just got to wait for some of these provinces to siege out. Maybe what I could do is we could split off one unit from this stack here. So I'm just going to take one man, select this unit, and I'm going to assign him a leader, the leader that has all of that lovely siege bonus. And then we're going to move this army and put it into one of these provinces, because he will then be able to help with the siege and make it a little bit quicker. It's too early on in the game for us to get cannons or anything like that. Now, we do have a free diplomat right now, which we could be using to start some stuff. We can't core anything while we are at war. What it would be nice is to have a little look at Brittany. Brittany don't have us rivaled, but what we could do in there is offer them a royal marriage. Of course, the problem with that is it gives us yet another relation. You've really got to be careful. This is one thing that does happen with France. They do get into a point where they have multiple relations, but I would like to try and get Brittany on board, because that really helps us in our future wars against England as well. So we're going to go ahead. We've already got the royal marriage, so we've already got a relation. We may as well go in and attempt to get an alliance with them if we can. They will actually accept the offer of a alliance. And then we'll go in and improve relations after that. Can't go in until the 21st of May, because you can only send a diplomat every so often. Although they may actually offer me an alliance, in which case it is just as good. We're only at 0 stability at the moment as well. So ports are blockaded, but nothing too terrible is going on right now. We are actually technically winning the war. We are 7% positive. A lot of our armies just sitting around here in this province and not doing an awful lot. I'm not sure why everyone is camped down there. I'd love someone to go in and try and attack Calais. Unfortunately, the only place that I can produce any kind of ships, even if I thought, well, okay, let's go ahead and make some additional transports, the only place I can make any is Poitou, because it's the only coast that I have on this side of France. I could, of course, produce something down here, but then I'd have to go all the way around Spain and probably end up getting taken out by this fleet anyway. So it does make it pretty impossible for me to actually move any troops around to Calais, which is very, very annoying. There's no way at all that we can sink this fleet. It's just, it's far too much for us to do. 10 heavies, 15 lights, 14 transports. We have no chance at all of being able to defeat that navy, so I'm not even going to bother. Still got no chance at all of getting any sort of military access through Burgundy, which is the big problem here. I mean, if we actually click on Picardy, we do actually have a core here. So this Picardy is actually, well, a lot of this stuff is actually, well, Artois will be ours eventually. Because the idea is you try and wipe out as much of Burgundy as possible, but certainly we at least want to grab Picardy, because we do actually have a core here. But we can't really do that unless we're at war with Burgundy, and yeah, bad things can happen. Let's just have a quick look here. Portugal's actually involved in the war. England have called Portugal in. That's actually quite new. That must be something that's changed in the Art of War expansion, because it used to be that once the war had started, if you actually allied with anybody after the war, you couldn't call any in. To that end, I should be able to give a call to arms to Castile then. Where are we? Call to arms, yes. Okay. So you can play at that game. So I've put out a call to arms to Castile. So they should now, hopefully, come and join me in this war. It doesn't say they've accepted. Yep, no, they are in. They've accepted. So Castile's now involved in this war as well, which is good because it means they'll probably do the majority of the fighting against Portugal. That's fine. Castile also have a bit of a navy, and that seems to have scared off the English fleet somewhat. That has moved over there. Portugal are in our territory. I may take this army and actually move down here and go and see if we can deal with the Portuguese over there. So that has changed a little bit since I last played as France, because the way it used to be, it didn't matter if you actually ended up getting getting alliances with people because the war had already started when the game started, and you couldn't call people into an existing war. There was a short window where you could call people in. It was something like, I think it was 28 days or 30 days or something like that. That doesn't apply now. You can call an ally into a war at any point. So that's not a problem there at all. So if we just quickly pause just before these troops land and have a quick look, you'll see that there are certain flags on things here, like this little red flag here, the same with Portugal. Indicates that this country is not a co-belligerent in the war. They're just being called in as an ally. They're not the main focus on either side, which means that taking provinces from them will cost twice as much. So even if I go and siege out Portugal, it'll cost me twice as much war score to take anything from them, just the same as if England or Portugal sieged out Castile. We're getting the ticking war score here because this is actually a succession war from England, and the war goal for England, yeah, there it is, it's Cassius Belli, claim on throne, and England need to take our capital, Ile-de-France. So while we're holding Ile-de-France, we actually get ourselves a nice little bit of ticking war score. So we're going to leave that going there. We should be able to go in and face roll these guys quite nicely. I'm just wondering if Castile have any ability to go in and flip Calais now. So, oh no, I can't. This is the annoying thing. You can't actually ask allies to go and do something specific. You can ask your vassals, but not your allies, which is one thing that I do dislike. We did win that war there. Not sure where the Portuguese are going to go. We'll see if we can chase them down. Yeah, we're not going to be able to catch up with them. Ooh, that was very, very close. When are they going to leave their 20th of August? We're going to arrive on the 20th of August. I can't follow them into Navarra, unfortunately. So that is a little bit of a pain. But we'll just bring back our troops, put them in Ile-de-France, which will probably put England off the idea of trying to land many or any troops there. I would still love to be able to go and get Calais, but I'm just not sure it's possible. Which I think is actually part of our mission. Is at peace with England, and not one province in the French region is owned by England. Oh, we've got the Christmas music playing. Where's the regional map mode? Oh, we have an event. So we can either lose 100 administrative power, and Toulouse will become the seat of a new cardinal, or we can gain 100 admin power. At this point, I'm just going to take the free admin power, because that would be absolutely lovely. Regional map mode. Where are we? Diplomatic map mode. Yeah, I don't think it is actually in the French region. There is an actual regional map mode somewhere. Region map mode, there we go. Ah, it is in the French region. So, Calais, Picardy, as you can see, all of the stuff in this sort of salmony colour is in the French region. So there are still a couple of... We would have to get rid of Calais to complete this mission. It's going to be difficult, but it's not going to be impossible. We will find a way of doing it. What I might do, actually, is split off the two transports, because there's no point in risking anything else. While my army is here, if I actually tell them to attach to a transport, and I'm going to take my two transports, and I'm going to do my absolute best... Just trying to watch what ships are around. These transports are probably going to get instantaneously sunk. But there's very little that I can do about that. Yeah, the English fleet is actually... Yeah, the English fleet's caught me already. So I've lost those transports. And that's exactly what I thought would happen. So I've lost a couple of troops there. We should actually have a look at our numbers. We're only 2 under. So let's just go ahead and... just hire another couple of infantry. You do have this option now to create templates, which is a very nice thing. You can give the template a name. You can say how many troops of each type you want to create, and it'll tell you how much they're going to cost. And you can also tell it how many provinces you want it to be built in. So, for example, if you build a template which is 20 men, and you tell it to build it in 20 provinces, then each province will create 1 man or 1 unit. If you tell it 10 provinces, then it will double up, and each of those provinces will queue 2 units up. So it's a good way of building an army very, very quickly. But we're not going to be bothering with any templates just now. We'll get those extra couple of units and hopefully be able to deal with France. However, this video has gone on long enough, so I think that is a good And it's a good start. We've got it going. We are winning the war. We're 10% of the way through. We just need to work out how we are going to get rid of Calais. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope you're enjoying Europa Universalis IV, and I'll see you on the next video. So until then, goodbye for now.